My friends, I want to speak to you today about something that will change your life forever. Too many people are waiting on the world to change when God is waiting on them to change. Too many people are begging for acceptance, chasing validation, living for approval, when the real secret to life is this: when you focus on yourself, when you focus on becoming who God created you to be, the world has no choice but to adjust to you. But here's the problem: most people are too distracted. They are watching others instead of working on themselves. They are scrolling, comparing, complaining, waiting for someone else to open a door, waiting for someone else to recognize their worth. But let me tell you something today: stop waiting for people to see you. See yourself first. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission. The Bible says in Proverbs 4:25, let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly before you. If you keep watching, worrying, and wishing instead of working, walking, and winning, you'll never become the person God has called you to be. So today, I want to give you 10 key principles on why focusing on yourself is the key to everything you desire. Stop waiting for others to understand your journey. People will misunderstand you. They will doubt you. They will call you crazy. But listen, they don't have to see it. They don't have to believe it. Because it's not their journey, it's yours. Think of Noah. God told him to build an ark when there was no sign of rain. People mocked him, laughed at him, but he kept building, and one day the flood came. The very people who doubted him were the ones who wished they had listened. Focus on what God has called you to do, not what people think. You attract what you become. People say they want success, but they focus on failure. They say they want peace, but they focus on stress. Let me tell you something. What you focus on, you attract. If you want love, don't chase it, become it. If you want respect, don't demand it, earn it. If you want success, don't wish for it, work for it. When you fix yourself, the world around you adjusts to fit your new reality. God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. Too many people live for the approval of others instead of the purpose of God. They wear masks. They act like something they're not, and then they wonder why they feel so empty. God will never anoint a fake version of you. If you want real power, real purpose, and real peace, you have to become the person God designed you to be. David wasn't trying to be Saul when he fought Goliath. He wasn't wearing Saul's armor. He stepped into battle as himself. And because of that, God gave him victory. Discipline creates freedom. People think freedom means doing whatever you want. No. Freedom comes when you master yourself. A river without boundaries is a flood. A life without discipline is a disaster. You say you want success, but do you have the discipline to wake up early, to put in the work, to stay committed when no one is watching? You say you want peace, but do you have the discipline to cut off distractions, to let go of toxic relationships, to guard your mind? If you master yourself, the world will adjust to your new standards. Stop seeking validation from people who don't even know their own worth. Why are you begging people to believe in you when they don't even believe in themselves? If you live for people's approval, you will die from their rejection. Jesus didn't beg for people's validation. He walked in his calling with confidence. Some followed him, some rejected him, but he never changed to fit the crowd. The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you step into true power. Your time is your life. Stop wasting it. Every day you spend complaining, doubting, procrastinating is a day you will never get back. Time is life. What are you doing with the time God gave you? When you stop wasting time, the world will respect your time. The world doesn't adjust to weakness. It responds to strength. Jesus didn't beg people to follow him. He walked in power, purpose, and authority, and the right people were drawn to him. When you stop apologizing for who you are and start walking in confidence, the right doors will open, the right opportunities will come, the right people will appear. But it all starts with owning your identity. You can't fix the world until you fix yourself. People want to change the world, but they can't even change themselves. You say you want to make a difference, start by making a difference in your own life. Jesus said, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Fix your mindset, your habits, your discipline. Then you can impact others. God will bless you when you start moving. Some people sit around waiting for a miracle when God is waiting for them to move. Moses didn't see the Red Sea part until he stepped forward. The walls of Jericho didn't fall until they marched. The moment you take action, the world will adjust to your movement. When you lag with God's purpose, nothing can stop you. Listen to me. When you step into your calling, nothing in this world can stop you. No enemy, no obstacle, no setback. Because when God is for you, who can be against you? When you focus on who He made you to be, the world has no choice but to recognize His power in your life. My friends, this is your time. Stop watching others and start working on you. Stop waiting for permission and start walking in purpose. Stop doubting and start believing, because when you focus on yourself, when you step into your identity, when you walk in your God-given power, the world will have no choice but to adapt to you. Now go, become the person God created you to be. God bless you. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay, because your calling wasn't a conference call. God didn't invite everyone into the conversation when He placed a vision inside you. He didn't send out invitations to your friends, your family, or your critics. He whispered it to you deep in your soul. And that means it's not their job to understand, it's yours. Too many people spend their lives waiting for approval, waiting for validation, waiting for someone to say, I see what you're doing and I support you. But let me tell you something. If you keep waiting for people to believe in you before you move, you will never move. If you keep waiting for the world to validate you before you take a step, you'll stay stuck exactly where you are. Look at Noah. When God told him to build an ark, the skies were clear, the sun was shining, there was no storm in sight. And yet Noah picked up a hammer and started building. People laughed at him, they mocked him, they thought he was crazy, but Noah wasn't waiting for their approval. He was walking in obedience. And when the flood came, when the rain started pouring, the very people who mocked him were the ones banging on the door, begging to be let in. That's how life works. The same people who doubt you now will be the ones trying to catch up later. The same people who laughed at your dreams will be the ones asking how you did it. The same ones who said you'll never make it will be the ones asking if you can help them get there too. But you can't waste time worrying about them now. You have a job to do, you have a calling to walk in, and you don't have time to wait for people to get on board. Think about Joseph. He had a dream, a vision from God, and he made the mistake of sharing it with people who didn't have the capacity to understand it. His own brothers hated him for it. They threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery, and left him for dead. But listen, their lack of understanding didn't stop God's plan. Their rejection didn't cancel the promise. Joseph kept moving forward, kept trusting, kept working, and eventually he ended up exactly where God had shown him, second in command over all of Egypt. If Joseph had waited for his brothers to believe in him, he never would have made it. If he had let their rejection stop him, he never would have fulfilled his destiny. And the same is true for you. Stop waiting for people to see what God has already shown you. Some people will never understand your journey because God didn't give them the vision. He gave it to you. It's not their job to believe in you, it's yours. Let me tell you about another man. Jesus, the Son of God himself, walked this earth performing miracles, healing the sick, raising the dead, and still people didn't believe in him. The religious leaders mocked him. His own people rejected him. Even in his hometown, they said, "Isn't this just the carpenter's son?" They couldn't see the power inside him because they were too familiar with the outside. And yet, did Jesus stop? Did he wait for their approval before stepping into his purpose? No. He kept going. He kept healing. He kept preaching. He kept walking in his calling until the very ones who doubted him had no choice but to recognize who he was. You see, when you walk in your purpose, when you keep moving forward despite the doubters, the world will eventually have to adjust to what God is doing in your life. The same people who don't understand you now will one day see what God was doing all along. But you can't waste your time waiting for them to get it. You can't slow down your progress just because others don't see the vision. You have to keep building, keep believing, keep walking, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Maybe you're an artist and people don't understand your passion. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and people don't see your vision. Maybe you're stepping into ministry and people are questioning your calling. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you stay faithful to the path God has placed you on. Some of the greatest people in history were misunderstood at first. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because they said he lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. But what if they had listened to the doubters? What if they had waited for the world to believe in them before they pursued their calling? They would have never become the legends we know today. And the same is true for you. Your success, your destiny, your purpose, it does not depend on who understands it. It depends on your willingness to pursue it, even when no one else sees the vision. So stop waiting for others to get it. Stop waiting for people to support you. Stop waiting for the applause, the encouragement, the validation. Your journey is yours. Your calling is yours. Your purpose is yours. And the only approval you need is from God. So go, build the ark, even when the skies are clear. Go, walk in your purpose, even when no one claps for you. Go, be who God made you to be, even if no one else understands it, because one day, when the promise is fulfilled, when the vision becomes reality, when the dream comes to life, the same people who didn't understand will have no choice but to see what God was doing all along. The world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. You don't attract what you wish for, you attract what you work for. You don't pull in what you simply dream about, you pull in what you embody. The energy you give is the energy you receive. The mindset you carry is the reality you create. The person you are is the life you attract. Too many people walk around blaming the world for what they don't have, when the truth is their lives are simply a reflection of who they have allowed themselves to become. If you are always negative, you will attract negativity. If you are always complaining, you will attract more things to complain about. If you carry bitterness, resentment, or jealousy, life will continue to give you reasons to feel those things. But if you shift your mindset, if you start living with gratitude, faith, and a heart full of expectation, suddenly life starts responding differently. The right people start showing up. The right opportunities start finding you. The right doors start opening. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. Look at a magnet. A magnet doesn't pull in just anything. It attracts what is in alignment with its nature. If you are a magnet of negativity, you will pull in more struggle, more hardship, more stress. But if you become a magnet of confidence, of strength, of positivity, you will start attracting people, places, and opportunities that match that energy. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to always be in toxic relationships? They leave one bad relationship only to end up in another. They say things like, "Why do I always attract the wrong people?" But the question they should be asking is, what is it about me that keeps drawing in the same kind of person? Because if you carry insecurity, you will attract those who prey on insecurity. If you carry desperation, you will attract people who take advantage of desperation. But when you start to value yourself, you start attracting people who value you. When you develop confidence, you draw in people who respect confidence. When you love yourself, you no longer settle for relationships that don't reflect that love. It's the same in every area of life. If you want success, you have to become the type of person success is attracted to. You have to develop discipline, work ethic, resilience. You have to carry yourself like someone who is going places. And when you do, you'll notice that people with the same mindset start showing up in your life. Think about athletes, a person who is disciplined, who wakes up early, who trains every day, who fuels their body properly. That kind of person attracts opportunities in sports. But someone who is lazy, who cuts corners, who makes excuses, that kind of person attracts failure. If you want to be wealthy, you have to start thinking like someone who is wealthy. You can't expect financial success while carrying a poverty mindset. If you always say, "I'm broke, I can't afford it, I'll never have enough," then that's exactly what your life will reflect. But if you start thinking, "I am learning to build wealth, I am growing in wisdom, I am stepping into abundance," then your actions will start aligning with that mindset. Look at farmers. A farmer doesn't sit around wishing for a harvest. He doesn't pray for crops while refusing to plant seeds. No, he gets up, tills the soil, plants the seeds, waters them daily, and because he has taken the right actions, the harvest comes. Life works the same way. You can't expect a harvest of success if you are planting seeds of laziness, doubt, or inconsistency. There is a reason why confident people seem to have more opportunities. There is a reason why people who live with joy seem to have more reasons to be joyful. There is a reason why strong-minded individuals seem to overcome every obstacle. It's not luck. It's because they have cultivated the internal qualities that attract external results. Look at Jesus. Everywhere he went, people were drawn to him, not just because of his words, but because of his presence. He carried peace, so he attracted those who needed peace. He carried healing, so the sick were drawn to him. He carried wisdom, so the hungry and the lost followed him. He didn't chase people. He became the embodiment of what the world needed, and they came to him. What if, instead of chasing, you started becoming? What if instead of waiting, you started working? What if instead of complaining, you started changing? Because the truth is, the life you want is not found outside of you. It starts inside of you. If you want better relationships, become a better person. If you want success, develop the habits of successful people. If you want happiness, start carrying a grateful heart. Everything you desire is a result of who you are becoming. Life doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to the person you show up as every day. So today, ask yourself, what am I attracting into my life? Are my habits aligned with the future I want? Am I walking in confidence or insecurity? Am I living with faith or fear? Am I planting the right seeds for the harvest I expect? Because at the end of the day, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So become what you desire. Become the person who is worthy of the life you dream about. And watch as everything around you starts to shift in your favor. God isn't in the business of blessing masks. He doesn't pour his favor on the version of you that you show the world. He blesses the real you, the one he created, the one he knows inside and out. Yet, so many people walk around pretending to be something they're not, thinking that if they can just look perfect, act perfect, and say the right things, then God will bless them. But God doesn't work like that. He doesn't bless a performance. He blesses authenticity. Think about Jacob. He spent his whole life trying to be someone else. From the moment he was born, he was grasping, striving, trying to be more. He tricked his brother Esau out of his birthright. He dressed up in animal skins and deceived his father into giving him the blessing meant for Esau. He spent years running, manipulating, trying to control his own destiny. But here's the truth. God had already chosen to bless Jacob. He didn't need to pretend to be Esau. He didn't need to wear a disguise. He didn't need to lie or manipulate. God had a blessing for Jacob as Jacob. And it wasn't until Jacob wrestled with God, until he was stripped of all his pretenses, that God finally blessed him. God didn't bless the version of Jacob that was pretending. He blessed the real Jacob, the broken, struggling, desperate man who finally admitted, I won't let go until you bless me. So many people are walking around exhausted because they're living a life of pretense. They're trying to be perfect, trying to have it all together, trying to impress people, but inside they're struggling. They post the perfect pictures, say all the right things, but inside they feel empty. And God is saying, I can't bless who you're pretending to be. I want the real you. Maybe you've spent years hiding behind a mask, pretending to be strong when you're really weak, pretending to have it all figured out when you're really lost. Maybe you've been playing the part, saying the right things, showing up to church, but inside you're doubting, you're struggling, you're questioning everything. God isn't asking for your perfection. He's asking for your honesty. He's asking for you to come to him as you are, because he doesn't bless the person you wish you were. He blesses the person you really are. Look at the Pharisees. They were the religious elite. They had the perfect prayers, the perfect robes, the perfect image. They knew all the rules. They followed all the traditions. But Jesus called them whitewashed tombs. Beautiful on the outside, but dead inside. Because God isn't impressed by an image. He isn't fooled by appearances. He sees the heart. And he would rather have an honest sinner than a fake saint. Think about David. He was a man after God's own heart, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. He made mistakes, big ones. He fell. He failed, but he always came back to God with an honest heart. He didn't try to pretend he was righteous when he wasn't. He didn't cover up his sin with religious talk. He came to God in brokenness, in repentance, in authenticity, and that's why God used him. The world teaches you to fake it until you make it, to put on a good face, to act like everything is fine. But God doesn't need your performance. He needs your surrender. He needs you to come to him raw, unfiltered, real, because it's only when you bring your true self to him that he can truly work in your life. Think about a doctor. If you walk into a doctor's office pretending you're fine when you're actually sick, the doctor can't help you. If you hide your symptoms, if you act like you have it all together, you'll walk out of that office just as sick as you came in. But if you're honest, if you say, here's what's really going on, then the doctor can treat you, heal you, restore you. God is the same way. If you come to him acting like you don't need him, pretending you have it all figured out, he can't work in your life the way he wants to. But when you drop the act, when you say, God, I'm struggling, I don't have it all together, I need you, that's when transformation happens. Some of the most powerful people in the Bible weren't the ones who had the perfect image. They were the ones who were real. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, but because he came back in humility, God used him to build the church. Paul persecuted Christians before he met Jesus, but because he was willing to surrender his real self, God turned him into one of the greatest apostles. God doesn't need your perfection. He needs your heart. He needs the raw you, the unfiltered you, the one who doubts sometimes, the one who struggles, the one who feels like giving up, because that's the person he wants to bless. So today, let go of the mask. Stop pretending. Stop trying to impress people who don't even have the power to bless you. Stop striving for approval from the world when the only approval that matters is God's. Come as you are. Bring him your struggles. Bring him your fears. Bring him your weaknesses, because God won't bless the version of you that the world sees. He will bless the version of you that only he sees. And when you walk in that truth, when you embrace who God made you to be, when you stop hiding behind a false identity and step into who you really are, that's when his blessing will flow into your life like never before. Most people think of discipline as a restriction, as something that takes away their freedom. They think discipline means rules, limitations, and missing out on fun. But the truth is, discipline is not what takes away your freedom. Discipline is what creates it. It is the key that unlocks the life you truly desire. Imagine a musician who wants to play the piano beautifully. If they sit at the piano and randomly press keys, they won't make music. They'll make noise. But if that same musician commits to discipline, to practicing scales, learning chords, and training their fingers, then they gain the freedom to sit down and play any song they want. The discipline of practice has given them freedom in their craft. Look at an athlete. A champion runner doesn't just wake up and decide to win races. They discipline their body, train every day, wake up early, eat the right food, and put in the hard work. And because they have embraced discipline, they have gained the freedom to run without limits, to compete at the highest level, to achieve greatness. Now compare that to someone who refuses discipline. Someone who eats whatever they want, never exercises, never trains. Over time, they don't gain freedom, they lose it. Their body weakens, their energy fades, and they are no longer able to do the things they once could. What seemed like freedom in the moment, indulging, avoiding effort, actually led to limitation. It's the same in every area of life. If you want financial freedom, you must have financial discipline. If you spend everything you earn, live beyond your means, and never save, you won't be free. You'll be a slave to debt, always stressed about money. But if you discipline yourself to budget, save, and invest wisely, you gain the freedom to live life on your own terms. If you want strong relationships, you must have discipline in how you treat people. If you let your emotions control you, if you say whatever comes to your mind without thinking, if you neglect the people you love, you will find yourself lonely and disconnected. But if you discipline yourself to listen, to communicate, to show kindness even when it's hard, then you will build deep and meaningful connections. Think about a student in school. The student who is disciplined, who studies, who prepares, who puts in the effort, they have the freedom to pass exams, to graduate, to choose their own path. But the student who ignores their work, who procrastinates, who avoids responsibility, they don't gain freedom, they lose it. They find themselves limited with fewer opportunities, stuck in a cycle of struggle. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It is the tool God gives us to break free from bad habits, from destructive cycles, from the things that hold us back. Look at the people who are truly free in life, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and spiritually. They are the ones who have mastered discipline. They have disciplined their thoughts, their time, their habits. They have said no to temporary comfort so they could say yes to long-term fulfillment. Even Jesus practiced discipline. He woke up early to pray. He fasted. He remained focused on his purpose, never allowing distractions to pull him away. And because of his discipline, he walked in complete freedom, free from fear, free from the opinions of others, free to fulfill his destiny. We live in a world that tells us to do whatever we feel like, to follow every impulse, to chase instant gratification. But the people who live by impulse, who avoid discipline, who give in to every craving, they are the ones who find themselves trapped in bad decisions, trapped in regret, trapped in a life they never intended to create. But those who embrace discipline, they are the ones who are truly free. Discipline creates freedom in your mind. When you discipline your thoughts, when you refuse to let negativity control you, when you train yourself to focus on what is good, your mind becomes clear, strong, and peaceful. Discipline creates freedom in your body. When you take care of your health, when you exercise, eat well, and prioritize rest, you gain the freedom to move, to live without pain, to have energy for what matters. Discipline creates freedom in your spirit. When you commit to prayer, to reading God's Word, to seeking His presence daily, you gain the freedom of a heart that is at peace, a soul that is unshaken, a life that is guided by His wisdom. So the question is, do you want real freedom? If you do, then embrace discipline, not as a punishment, but as a gift, not as something that limits you, but as something that empowers you. Because true freedom isn't found in doing whatever you feel like. It's found in becoming the person God created you to be. And that journey starts with discipline. How many times have you caught yourself waiting for someone else's approval before you felt good about yourself? How often have you doubted your own worth because someone else didn't see it? Too many people spend their lives chasing validation from people who don't even understand their own value. They are looking for confidence from the insecure, affirmation from the unsure, and acceptance from the lost. But let me tell you something, your worth is not dependent on someone else's recognition of it. A diamond doesn't lose its value just because someone doesn't recognize its worth. Gold is still gold whether someone admires it or walks past it without a second glance. And in the same way, your value doesn't decrease just because certain people fail to see it. Think about this. If you walked into a pawn shop and handed them a priceless artifact, something worth millions, but the shop owner didn't recognize it, they might offer you a few dollars for it. Does that mean the artifact lost its value? No, it only means that the person evaluating it didn't know what they were looking at. And that's exactly what happens when you seek validation from the wrong people. You're handing over your worth to people who don't even understand their own. You're looking for approval from people who are still trying to figure out who they are. You're waiting for a compliment from someone who doesn't even believe in themselves. The truth is, when someone doesn't know their own worth, they can't properly appreciate yours. They may overlook you, criticize you, or fail to acknowledge your efforts, not because you are lacking, but because they are. You cannot receive something from someone who does not have it to give. Imagine a person who has never experienced love. They've been broken, rejected, and told their entire life that they are not enough. And now, you're waiting for them to validate you? How can they give you what they don't even possess? Some people will never be able to appreciate you, not because they're not valuable, but because they have never learned to appreciate themselves. If they are blinded to their own beauty, they will be blind to yours. If they don't believe in their own potential, they won't believe in yours. And if they constantly doubt themselves, they will make you feel like you need to doubt yourself too. That's why you have to stop living for their approval. Stop waiting for them to tell you that you're good enough. Stop hoping that one day they'll see your value and finally give you the validation you crave. Because the moment you stop seeking their validation is the moment you start walking in your true power. Look at the life of Jesus. He never once sought validation from people. He didn't ask the Pharisees if he was good enough. He didn't wait for the religious leaders to approve his calling. He didn't let their rejection shake his identity. He knew who he was, and he walked confidently in it. And guess what? The same people who doubted him, rejected him, and criticized him, many of them later came to realize who he truly was. But by then he had already fulfilled his purpose. He didn't need their validation, and neither do you. Think about an artist painting a masterpiece. If they keep stopping to ask every passerby for their opinion, they will never finish the painting. Some people will say, "I don't like that color." Others will say, "Why are you painting it that way?" And if the artist listens to every voice, they will become confused, discouraged, and eventually give up. But if the artist stays focused, trusting their own vision, blocking out the unnecessary noise, they will create something breathtaking. And when it's finished, the same people who doubted will stand in awe of the masterpiece. That's exactly how life works. If you keep stopping to seek validation from people who don't even know their own worth, you will never complete your masterpiece. You will never step into your full potential. You will never walk boldly in the purpose God has for you. So today, let go of the need for validation. You don't need people's approval to be valuable. You don't need their compliments to be confident. You don't need their recognition to be great, because your worth was determined by God long before anyone had an opinion about you. And when you finally stop seeking validation from people who don't even know their own worth, you will find something even better: the freedom to be exactly who you were created to be. If I handed you a briefcase filled with $86,400 and told you that you could spend it however you want, but at the end of the day, whatever you didn't use would disappear, you'd probably spend it wisely, right? You wouldn't waste a single dollar. You'd make sure every cent went to something valuable. Now, let me tell you something even more valuable than money: your time. Every single day you are given 86400 seconds. Just like money, once they're gone, you can't get them back. You can earn back lost money, but you can never earn back lost time. Yet so many people treat time like it's unlimited, as if they have forever. They waste their precious seconds, minutes, and hours on things that don't add value to their lives, on distractions, negativity, meaningless arguments, and procrastination. But the truth is, your time is your life. However you spend your time is how you spend your life. If you waste your time, you are wasting your life. Think about this. If you had only 1 year left to live, would you spend it scrolling endlessly on social media? Would you waste it gossiping, complaining, or worrying about what other people think? Would you let fear and doubt hold you back from chasing your dreams? No, you wouldn't. You'd cherish every single moment. You'd spend time with the people you love, pursue your passions, and live with purpose. Yet why do so many of us live like we have forever? The reality is, every second that passes is a second you will never get back. And the sad thing is, most people don't realize this until it's too late. They waste years of their lives waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to believe in them. And then one day they wake up and realize that time has run out. Do you know what the biggest regret of people on their deathbeds is? It's not that they failed. It's that they never even tried. It's not that they lost. It's that they wasted their time on things that didn't matter. They let fear stop them. They let procrastination steal their dreams. They let distractions rob them of the life they could have lived. But you don't have to live with regret. You don't have to wait until it's too late to realize the value of your time. You can choose right now to stop wasting it. Take a look at your daily routine. How much of your time is truly spent on things that move you forward? How much of your time is spent investing in yourself, learning, growing, building, and creating? And how much of your time is wasted on things that drain you, on distractions, on mindless scrolling, on meaningless arguments, on negativity? You have to start treating your time like the treasure that it is. Imagine if someone broke into your house and tried to steal your most valuable possessions. You would fight to protect them, right? You wouldn't just let them take what belongs to you. So why do you let people, distractions, and bad habits steal your time so easily? Every wasted minute is a piece of your life that you will never get back. Every moment spent doing things that don't align with your purpose is a moment that could have been used to build the future you want. Look at the most successful people in the world. Athletes, entrepreneurs, visionaries. What do they all have in common? They respect their time. They don't waste it. They use every second with intention. They know that time is their most valuable asset, and they refuse to squander it. And guess what? You have the same 24 hours in a day as they do. The difference isn't how much time you have. The difference is in how you use it. So what are you doing with your time? Are you using it to build a future you're proud of? Or are you letting it slip through your fingers? Are you investing in yourself? Or are you wasting your days on things that don't matter? Are you living with purpose? Or are you just existing? Your time is your life. If you waste your time, you're wasting your potential, your dreams, and your future. But if you choose to value your time, to guard it, to invest it wisely, you will create a life that is meaningful, fulfilling, and impactful. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Decide today that you will stop wasting your time, because once it's gone forever. Life does not slow down for those who struggle. It does not pause and wait for you to catch up. The world does not rearrange itself to accommodate weakness, nor does it soften its blows for those who are unprepared. Instead, the world responds to strength. It recognizes power. It makes room for those who stand firm, who refuse to break, who rise above adversity and prove that they are unshakable. Think about nature itself. A mighty river does not stop flowing because there is a rock in its path. It carves its way around it. The wind does not ask permission before it reshapes the landscape. It moves with force. The tallest trees are not the ones that bend and break in a storm. They are the ones that have grown strong roots, the ones that stand against the wind and refuse to be uprooted. And the same principle applies to your life. If you are waiting for the world to make things easier for you, you will be waiting forever. If you are hoping that people will adjust to your struggles, that opportunities will come knocking just because you need them, you will be left disappointed. The world does not adjust to weakness, it moves on, but it takes notice of strength. Look at the people who make history. The ones who rise to greatness are not those who shrink under pressure or wait for circumstances to change. They are the ones who refuse to be defeated. They are the ones who turn their pain into power, their struggles into stepping stones, their obstacles into opportunities. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times before he finally created the light bulb. The world did not adjust to his failures. It did not hand him success on a silver platter. But because he had the strength to persist, because he refused to give up, the world responded to his strength. And today we live in a world illuminated by his invention. Or think about someone like Oprah Winfrey. She faced rejection, discrimination, and hardships, that would have crushed a weaker person. But instead of allowing her circumstances to define her, she built her strength. She fought through adversity. And because she chose strength over weakness, the world responded. She became one of the most influential figures in media, not because the world made room for her, but because she forced her way forward with strength. Every successful person has a story of struggle. Every champion has endured battles. Every leader has faced opposition. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not in their circumstances, it's in their response. Weakness is not an excuse. Hardships are not an excuse. Your past is not an excuse, because the truth is the world will not slow down for you just because you are struggling. It will not change to accommodate you. You must decide to rise. You must decide to be strong. You must decide that no matter what happens, you will not break. Have you ever noticed how people respect those who walk with confidence? The world gravitates towards strength. It listens to the voices of those who speak with authority. It follows those who lead with conviction. When you walk into a room uncertain, nervous, doubting yourself, people feel it. They may overlook you. They may dismiss you, not because you are not worthy, but because you are not standing in your own power. But when you walk in with strength, with an unshakable belief in yourself, people take notice. They listen. They respect you. Strength commands attention. It earns respect. It opens doors. But here's the thing. Strength is not given. It is built. It is forged in the fire of struggle. It is created through discipline, through perseverance, through refusing to give up when everything in you wants to quit. Think of a bodybuilder. Strength is not something they're simply born with. It is developed through years of training, through pushing beyond their limits, through enduring pain and discomfort in order to grow. And just like physical strength, mental and emotional strength must be built. So how do you build that strength? You stop making excuses. You stop waiting for life to get easier. You stop expecting people to adjust to your struggles, and instead you rise, you push through. You take ownership of your life and refuse to be a victim of circumstances. You develop a mindset of resilience. When you fail, you get back up. When you are rejected, you keep moving. When life knocks you down, you stand up stronger than before. You stop relying on external validation. Strength comes from within. It is not about whether people believe in you. It is about whether you believe in yourself. It is about knowing that you have everything you need inside of you to succeed, regardless of who supports you or who doubts you. The world will not adjust to you. It will not slow down. It will not change to fit your needs. But when you step into your strength, when you rise with confidence, when you refuse to be broken, the world will respond. It will make room for you. It will recognize you. It will respect you. So stop waiting for things to change. Stop hoping that life will become easier. Instead, become stronger. Because the world doesn't adjust to weakness. It responds to strength. It's easy to look at the world and see everything that's wrong with it. It's easy to point fingers at society, at the government, at the people around you and say, things need to change. You see the injustice, the pain, the suffering, and deep inside, you wish things were different. You want the world to be better, to be kinder, to be more fair. But here's a truth that many people don't want to face. You can't fix the world until you fix yourself. It's impossible to change something as big as the world if you haven't even changed the things within you. You can't bring peace to others when you are at war with yourself. You can't inspire greatness in others when you are still drowning in self-doubt. You can't help heal others when you haven't healed your own wounds. It starts with you. Imagine someone trying to clean a window while their hands are covered in dirt. No matter how much they try to wipe away the dust, all they're doing is spreading more dirt around. You can't clean what's outside if you're still carrying the mess within. The same applies to life. If you want to make a difference in the world, you must first work on yourself. You must first heal, grow, and become the kind of person who can truly bring change. Think about it. How many people spend their time trying to change others while ignoring the things they need to work on within themselves? They criticize others but refuse to acknowledge their own flaws. They try to fix relationships, careers, and circumstances without first fixing the patterns, habits, and mindsets that keep them stuck. It's like trying to build a house on a broken foundation. No matter how beautiful the structure may look on the outside, if the foundation is weak, the house will eventually collapse. You are the foundation. If you are broken, if you are unstable, if you are lost, then everything you try to fix outside of yourself will eventually fall apart. Think about an airplane. When the oxygen masks drop, what's the first instruction? Put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out while trying to help someone else, you can't help anyone. The same principle applies to life. If you don't take care of yourself first, if you don't fix what's inside you, you won't be able to help anyone else effectively. Some people are constantly trying to change their environment, hoping that external changes will bring them happiness. They switch jobs, move to different cities, end relationships, start new ones, always believing that the next change will finally bring them peace. But no matter where they go, they take their unresolved issues with them. You see, you can't escape yourself. No matter how much you change the outside, if you don't fix what's inside, you'll keep repeating the same patterns. Think about someone who has been hurt in the past. If they don't take the time to heal, they will carry that pain into every new relationship, every new friendship, every new opportunity. They might blame others for their struggles, but in reality, it's not the world that needs to change, it's them. Self-work is the hardest work, but it's also the most rewarding. When you take responsibility for your growth, when you confront your weaknesses, when you heal from past wounds, something amazing happens. You stop looking at the world with frustration and start seeing it with clarity. You stop reacting to problems with anger and start responding with wisdom. And that's when real change happens. The greatest leaders, the ones who have truly transformed the world, didn't start by pointing fingers. They started by looking in the mirror. They became the change they wanted to see. They built themselves first, and because they did, the world had no choice but to respond. Think of Mahatma Gandhi. He didn't just preach peace, he became peace. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't just talk about justice, he embodied it. Their inner strength, their personal transformation made their impact undeniable. So before you try to fix the world, ask yourself, have I fixed myself? Are you the person you need to be in order to bring the change you want to see? Are you disciplined? Are you kind? Are you wise? Have you worked through your own struggles, your own limitations, your own weaknesses? Because once you do, once you truly work on yourself, the world around you will begin to shift. You won't have to force change. It will happen naturally because the world responds to those who have mastered themselves. You can't fix the world until you fix yourself. So start today. Work on yourself, grow, heal, learn. And when you do, you'll find that the world begins to change because you changed first. Too many people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for a sign from heaven. They sit still hoping that one day everything will fall into place, that life will miraculously shift, that doors will open without them having to knock. But that's not how God works. God does not bless stagnation, he blesses movement. Think about it. When did the Red Sea part for Moses and the Israelites? It wasn't while they were standing still, complaining or fearing the Egyptian army. No, it happened when they stepped forward in faith. When they moved, when they obeyed, that's when God performed the miracle. So many people pray for God to move in their lives, but they refuse to move themselves. They ask for breakthroughs, but remain stuck in the same place. They want financial blessings, but never take steps to work harder or learn new skills. They want better relationships, but refuse to change toxic habits. They want opportunities, but never take action. Faith is not just believing. Faith is stepping out even when you don't see the whole staircase. Imagine a farmer praying for a harvest, but never planting seeds. He can pray all day, he can fast, he can cry out to God, but if he doesn't put his hands to the plow and sow the seeds, no crop will ever grow, because God blesses the work of your hands, not the wishes of your heart. Look at Peter when he saw Jesus walking on water. He could have stood in the boat doubting, waiting for Jesus to come to him, but instead he stepped out. He moved, and the moment his foot hit the water, the miracle began. What does that tell you? God meets you at the point of your movement. Some people say they are waiting on God, but in reality, God is waiting on them. He has already placed the potential inside of them, already given them the ability, already opened doors, but they refuse to walk through them. Think about David. He didn't become king by waiting in the fields, hoping someone would notice him. No, he fought the lions and the bears while taking care of the sheep. He prepared, he moved. And when the opportunity came to face Goliath, he was ready because he had already been walking in his purpose. God didn't call him when he was sitting around doing nothing. He called him while he was working, while he was moving, while he was being faithful with the little he had. And that's the key. God blesses faithfulness. If you want God to bless your finances, start being faithful with what you have now. Learn how to manage your money. Be diligent. Work hard. If you want God to bless your relationships, start being the kind of person you want to attract. If you want God to bless your dreams, start taking small steps toward them instead of just hoping they will magically happen. The problem is that many people want the reward without the effort. They want the promotion without the work. They want the miracle without the movement. But faith without works is dead. God is not asking you to have everything figured out before you start. He is simply asking you to move, to take that first step, to trust Him enough to begin. Look at Abraham. God told him to leave his homeland and go to a place He would show him. God didn't give him all the details up front. He didn't hand him a map with every stop along the way. He simply said, go. And because Abraham moved in faith, God blessed him beyond measure. That's how God works. He doesn't reveal everything at once. He doesn't give you all the answers before you begin. He wants to see if you trust Him enough to move first. And when you do, He will open doors that no man can shut. He will provide in ways you never expected. He will make a way where there seems to be no way. But it all starts with movement. Think about a car. If the engine is running but the car is in park, it's not going anywhere. But the moment you put it in drive and press the gas, momentum takes over. The hardest part is starting, but once you start moving, things begin to shift. That's what happens in life. When you step out in faith, when you take that first step, when you begin, God begins to accelerate things in your favor. So what are you waiting for? God has already equipped you. He has already given you what you need. The blessings, the breakthroughs, the answered prayers, they are on the other side of your movement. Stop waiting. Start moving. And watch how God blesses you beyond anything you could ever imagine. There is a supernatural force that moves when you step into the purpose God has for your life. When you align yourself with His plan, doors open that no man can shut. Strength rises within you that you never knew you had. Obstacles that once seemed impossible to overcome begin to crumble before you. Not because of your power, but because you are walking in divine alignment. Too many people spend their lives fighting battles that were never meant for them. They chase after things that were never part of their destiny. They struggle, they push, they strive, but they are running in the wrong direction. But when you align with God's purpose, there is a flow, a divine grace that carries you forward. Think about a river. Water moves effortlessly when it follows its natural path, but when an obstacle blocks it, the water doesn't stop. It finds a way around, over, or through whatever stands in its way. That is how it is when you are in alignment with God's purpose. Challenges may come, setbacks may arise, but nothing can stop what God has set in motion. Look at Joseph in the Bible. His brothers betrayed him. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It seemed like everything was working against him. But because Joseph was aligned with God's purpose, every setback became a setup for something greater. When he was in the pit, God's plan was still in motion. When he was in prison, God's purpose was still alive. And when the time was right, he was elevated to the highest position in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. The very people who tried to destroy him had to come to him for help. Why? Because when you are aligned with God's purpose, no weapon formed against you can prosper. There is something powerful about knowing you are walking in God's will. It gives you confidence. It gives you boldness. It gives you a supernatural assurance that no matter what comes against you, it cannot stop you. Think about David. He wasn't the strongest, the tallest, or the most experienced warrior, but he was aligned with God's purpose. That's why when he stood before Goliath, he wasn't afraid. The whole army of Israel trembled before the giant, but David understood that when God is with you, it doesn't matter how big the enemy is. Some people hesitate to step into their purpose because they are afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of opposition, afraid of what people will say. But when you're in alignment with God's plan, fear loses its power over you. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move with confidence, knowing that heaven backs you up. Think about an archer. When the arrow is properly aligned with the bow, it flies straight to the target. But if it is misaligned, no matter how much effort is put into shooting it, the arrow will miss its mark. That's what happens when you live outside of God's will. You struggle, you aim, you try, but you keep missing. But when you align yourself with God's purpose, He gives you the strength, the direction, and the favor to hit the mark every time. Sometimes alignment requires letting go. There are things, habits, relationships, and distractions that pull us away from what God has planned for us. If you want to walk in His purpose, you have to be willing to surrender everything that does not serve His plan for your life. Look at Jesus. He was fully aligned with the Father's will. That's why, despite the opposition, despite the betrayal, despite the suffering, nothing could stop Him from fulfilling His purpose. When He was on the cross, the enemy thought he had won. But what the enemy didn't realize was that the very thing meant to destroy him was part of God's ultimate plan for victory. The same applies to you. What the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good if you stay aligned with His purpose. When you align with God's will, you don't have to chase opportunities. Opportunities will find you. You don't have to force doors open. God will open them for you. You don't have to fight battles in your own strength. God will fight for you. There is nothing more powerful than a man or woman walking in the divine assignment God has given them. They become unstoppable. Not because they are perfect, not because they have all the answers, but because God Himself is backing them up. So stop resisting, stop hesitating, stop doubting, step into your purpose, walk boldly in the direction God is calling you to, because when you align with God's purpose, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you.